What's it like to provide law enforcement in one of the most beautiful places in the country? Well, it's not always a day at the beach. Hi, I'm Randy Warren, and today on the Well Said podcast with Sheriff Rick Wells, we're talking about our Anna Maria Island District. Sheriff?
Randy, good to see you again. I know you've taken a few more days off.
Yeah, I was at the beach.
You went to Tennessee.
You were
far from you're far from the beach.
I did. I just got back from Tennessee.
Yes.
It was very cold. Same cold air, that Arctic blast that we're getting now.
That's not a
As we're recording this.
That's not a good segue into the beach.
No, it's not. Yeah. But it makes us want to go to the beach,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So we're very fortunate. You know, the reason for me, anyway, to do this podcast is to highlight all of the great men and women at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, the job that they do each and every day. You want to know why crime is down. It's because of people like our guest here, Sergeant Brett Getman, who has, how many years you have total now?
I have 28 and a half years. It'll be 29 in March.
So almost 29 years. And the last 6 years of his career, he's been out at Anna Maria. And a lot of people don't know that the city of Anna Maria has been contracting with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office for all of their law enforcement services for as long as I can remember, long before I became sheriff. So
it's got to be a couple of decades, three
it's
decades
been since
maybe?
The 80s.
Yeah, I think I was in high school when they first started. So we have great personnel, great deputies out there that know that working in Anna Maria is a little different than working in other areas in our community. And it takes a special deputy to know how to not only be a law enforcement officer, but how to be a crime prevention practitioner. They're doing community service. They're doing a lot of things that a normal deputy doesn't do. So that's why we have Brett here today, just to kind of cover some of the unique duties that you have on the island. He's a sergeant. He's kind of like, I always call him, he's like my mayor of the city of Anna Maria.
Not to take anything away from
the
mayor.
Not the mayor, but he's we'll call him the chief. Chief, but he's my go-to out there. And he if I have a problem, if I have something that needs to be done, it's Brett that gets it done. So we're glad to have you, buddy.
Appreciate the confidence you have in me.
That was a long ride from the beach here to the op center, right?
Yeah, it's more beautiful going out than it is coming in, right? So, no. But like the sheriff said, I've been out there 6 years, and one of the misconceptions people have about Anna Maria Island is that they don't understand there's 3 jurisdictions out there, 3 completely different cities. Because when you think of going to Anna Maria Island, you think of, from Coquina Beach up to Bean Point. And so in the areas that we cover, or the northern tip of the island that includes Bean Point, Holmes Beach has, when you come across Manatee Avenue, the public beach area, that's Holmes Beach, and then Braden Beach will cover, anything south of Cortez is mainly their area that they cover. They cover a little bit of the north. But that's a big misconception when people say, I went to Anna Maria Island. They think it's the whole island.
Yeah,
and it is essentially, for tourists and everybody else, but for the locals, Anna Maria is the city of Anna Maria.
I would imagine, Brett, when you look back 20 years ago, there's generations of families that grew up on Anna Maria Island, raised their family, their kids stayed there, the kids raised their family. It's a little bit different now. We see a lot more rental property, right?
Oh, absolutely.
On the island.
Absolutely.
I worry about some of the homes that were damaged in the storm during the hurricane, if they're going to be able to come back and stay on the island.
A lot of people out there have sold.
Is that because of the cost of having to rebuild now?
Just the cost, and the main residents out there, the older they get, they don't want to deal with the total complete renovation of the home that they've been in for the last 30, 40 years. It's heartbreaking to see the residents that I've got to personally know that are in their 70s and 80s that they've left the island now and they've moved into town or they've moved away. But yeah, we went from, when I went out there, it was around 1,200 residents full-time, and now we're down to less than 900.
Wow.
Full-time. So a lot of the vacation rentals have taken over. And it's no big secret out there that that's, the majority of the population now. And, we, on any given holiday weekends, we can have an influx of many visitors up to, 10,000 people, up there at any given, Memorial Day.
The summertime with all those holidays.
Oh, absolutely. And believe it or not, it's not even a holiday, but Mother's Day out there in every May is one of our busiest Sundays all year long, believe it or not. So, because, moms don't want to cook and clean. They want to go to the beach.
Right.
So,
and you see the increase in the spring. Anyway, a little bit of
so our season really starts Valentine's Day weekend, the middle of February, and it runs all through Labor Day weekend. That's pretty much our main spring, summer season out there where the population just increases every weekend.
Well, certainly a lot of challenges. And last year, a year ago this time, everybody is still coming back. I mean, the island is practically closed in some ways, but yet we're letting businesses and residents get back in. Your rentals were shut down. I mean, it's been probably the most challenging year.
Yeah, this has been more challenging than COVID was, to be honest. And when, Helene came through and it just devastated the island. And I've grown up here in Manatee County since the 3rd grade, and I know the sheriff's been here. And I've known the sheriff a very long time, believe it or not. And when he called me and said, how's the island? I said, you're going to have to come see this firsthand to really get a grasp of the devastation that was out there. And he did. He came right out.
And it was devastating to see, and I just remember riding with Brett, and we were just trying to make a path anywhere, right, just to get through. And I mean, you knew right away this was going to be something that was going to take a long time to rebuild. But then you saw everyone coming together.
Oh, absolutely.
And you saw everyone working together to try to clean up as much as they possibly could, just to make the roads, clear so services that were needed could get through and help out the residents that were there. But I'll never forget that day. That was something that I had never seen before. When you've been out there a couple of weeks before, you know what the island looks like, and then it's unrecognizable. You don't even know how to get to point A, right, from point A to point B. So, and I would imagine, Brett, that looking back, just growing up here, and you had those 1,300 plus residents that lived out there on the island. There wasn't a lot of crime. There wasn't really a lot going on. The island back in the 80s kind of shut down after 9, 10 o'clock. You had the pier. So the pier was wide open. Everybody would be fishing. But when you have rental property, those are different challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a totally different ballgame now that you're dealing with.
And what people don't realize is every 7 days we have a turnover of people, right? That's our biggest challenge is the vacation rentals typically run from Saturday to Saturday out on the island, and people traveling from, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, they're coming down for the full week. And then the following week, we have a whole new crew of people from different states. And the challenges are, the low-speed vehicles, AKA golf carts on the island, and people trying to follow those rules and then follow all the city code ordinances with parking and noise and alcohol on the beach, dogs on the beach, all that stuff that you don't hear us on the radio a lot of times enforcing, but we're out there enforcing.
Yeah, it's unique to the island.
It's unique
compared to what a deputy is doing on the mainland.
Absolutely. I always tell the deputies, you go across the Manatee Bridge or the Cortez Bridge, just pretend there's a curtain going all the way up to the sky because it's a totally different world out there, a totally different world to us, at least as law enforcement.
Does it take a while for your deputies to kind of get used to the pace?
It takes them takes them a couple of years to get comfortable.
Yeah,
believe it or not, because all the roads out there in the city are named roads. There's no 82nd Street or anything like that. That's in Holmes Beach. So it does take a while for them to familiarize themselves. And then, like I said, all the code ordinances that we do enforce. Anything from jumping off the city pier to, walking your dog on the beach, that's illegal.
You don't want to say that they get bored, but maybe a little more, kind of a little different downtime out there.
They don't get bored. They appreciate the downtime because, like I said, from February through the end of Labor Day, we're constantly busy and there is no downtime. From then. So, the December, January, when the weather's cooler and we don't have the influx of the spring breakers and the constant weekend travelers that come out there, they actually enjoy this time. And it's a lot of PR work during this time. I relate it to the guys like the business out there. They shut down and they do their maintenance and cleaning. Well, this is our maintenance time to get back out in the public and, to get to know the new people that are there now from when they weren't there before the hurricanes, and to show them that, we're there for them.
But see, we also know, Randy, we're not going to put a 1-year deputy on the island. Most of the deputies out there, they have they got 15, 20 years under their belt. They're seasoned. They know how to talk to people. They're looking for a change. They're looking to slow down, somewhat. So it's a perfect fit for all of us. And but if you were a 1 or 2 year deputy, you wouldn't survive out there.
That's not where you want to cut your teeth.
That's not where you want to be. And that's the great thing about the island.
Yeah.
It's a different culture out there. The climate is different. It's easy going. Even the vacationers are there to have a good time and relax. So for the most part, you don't have too much going on out there that causes us a lot of concern. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen. And you have to be on your guard.
Split second.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, you're always on guard anyway as a deputy sheriff, no matter if you've been here 1 year or almost 30 years. The island does have its unique challenges to other types of enforcement, or like the sheriff said, there's not going to be a rookie deputy out there, that may not understand. Most of our job out there is PR work. It's public relations. It really is. And you got to know how to talk, to the public and relay, because you do represent the sheriff and you represent everything he stands for. And they have to understand that.
When I was riding with Brett after Helene, it just kind of confirmed what I already knew, but everyone knew Brett Getman.
Mm-hmm.
By name. You could tell he had relationships with hundreds of people out there on a daily basis on the island, and that was just so refreshing to see. That just reminded me of the good old days when a law enforcement officer stayed in a community. He knew the community knew him, right? And so that was just so great to see. How many phone calls do you get weekly, do you think, directly from either a business owner or a resident?
Oh, it's daily. I mean, every day my phone's ringing, and it could be from the city of Anna Maria relaying a phone call from a resident. But a lot of times they'll actually come knock on our door. They don't call us, and they flag me down on the beach or whatever we're doing, and then they relay their concerns to us, and then we address them. But most of, like you said, the community out there, I've been out there almost 6 years, longer than most of the late sergeants that were there, except for John Kinney, who was, obviously the mayor out there before, back in the 90s.
Right.
Great friend of mine.
The law enforcement mayor. Let's do that. Law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. But anywhere from Galati's Marina up to Jenny and Jane's, and all through down Pine Avenue with Pizza Social and Duncan Real Estate and all the business owners, and Grub. You have to get out and introduce yourself when you first get there. You have to get out and make those relationships, because those relationships is what you count on. Also, they have our back just as much as we have theirs, and that's what's important to us. It's a different atmosphere that I know for a fact, if I ever get in a bind, I can depend on the community to help us out.
For those that don't know, we have our district office on Pine Avenue.
Yes, sir. 307 Pine Avenue is where we're at now.
And, we also have to take into consideration we have a mayor and also a city council. So we work for them as well. We got to keep them happy. We got to make sure that the complaints that they are receiving, we're handling those complaints the way they would want us to. And, we're always having to, Brett's trying to take care of me in the sheriff's office, and he's trying to take care of that mayor and those city, councilmen, right, as well, city council women. So there's a lot of responsibility out there. And, one complaint can put you in a tailspin if it's not handled correctly,
Absolutely.
Right? It doesn't go away. So there's a lot going on a daily basis. What do you think with the deputies as well? What's the biggest issue they have daily, especially in the summertime? Is it the beach and some of the things that go on?
Oh, definitely on the summertime on the beaches, and just the traffic alone is our biggest challenge. And like I said, every 7 days you're getting new people. So those new people don't understand the rules, and you're constantly explaining the new rules to all the beach goers that come in on Saturday and out on the beach on Sunday. But even like the weekend travel, because in the city of Anna Maria, there's not a law out there that says they have to rent 7 days. They can rent 1 day, 2 days. There's a lot of VRBOs out there now. So that is hands down, let alone the biggest challenge we have is just refreshing everybody's minds every 7 days.
Okay, so you say rules. What are those?
For example, like the low-speed vehicle rules, the golf cart rules, all that we like to call them. It's just like driving your car anywhere where you're from, typically. Kids 5 and under have to be in a booster seat from 3 to 5. Anybody under 3 needs to be in their car seat. They can't drive the golf cart if they don't have a valid license. And a lot of the golf cart companies do a good job in explaining this in their contract, that they don't want anybody driving a golf cart that's less than 21 for insurance reasons. But it's still a big challenge with parents. It's a different world. It's like Disneyland. That you're gonna let your kids go out and have fun. Just things like that every week that we have to deal with. So and some of the other rules, obviously too, is like there's no dogs on the beach.
Right.
You can't drive on the beach. I got a question like that. They're from Daytona. Like, we can drive on the beach in Daytona.
Yeah, where's the road to get on there? Right?
You can't drive. You can't have alcohol. Everybody wants to bring alcohol out there, and we just want to create a good, safe environment for everybody.
But Daytona doesn't have that beautiful sand like we have here.
No, that's a whole different.
That sand is nice and white and powder. And honestly,
it's gorgeous.
To go back to some of our biggest challenges is social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media during COVID is really when it blew up, and everybody was filming and spreading the word about Anna Maria, and we have just grown exponentially since then.
Well, we touch on it because all of us have lived in this area. I've been here a couple of decades myself, and it's unique. And that's what we love about the city of Anna Maria, and really all of Anna Maria Island, is that it's different than a lot of other places along the west coast of Florida, and you get a lot of international visitors as well.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, a lot of German folks, Europeans are here right now for the first time in 2 years, coming back to the island and visiting. So, a little bit of a language barrier here and there. Super nice people, though. Met actually a German police officer that was here last week. And we do get a lot of that, believe it or not. There is a lot of law enforcement from other countries that love to stop by and introduce themselves, love to take back a patch with them or whatever.
What is the connection with Germany? Because I've always heard that.
That I don't know. I was told by a friend of ours that he got off the plane over there in Europe, and here is a big billboard sign that says "Visit Anna Maria Island" in Anna Maria, Florida. Wow! So they're actually advertising over in Europe to come here.
Mm-hmm. And you got a German restaurant out there.
We do.
At least one I know of.
Yep.
Yeah.
On top of my head.
I can't remember something. Haas, is it? Hamburg something. Yeah, it's
so
right.
You had to put me on the spot. He told me there wouldn't be on the spot.
Right there by Publix. You can always look that up. But,
down in Holmes Beach there.
So much cool culture, and then that factors into just the daily keeping everybody safe. Is really all about safety out there.
Yeah, like the sheriff said, there's not a lot of crime in the city of Anna Maria because people are there mainly to have fun and vacation and to relax, and they're not, going around making car burglaries and stuff like that. So, but we do obviously have to enforce the noise ordinance is 10 o'clock, no noise after 10 o'clock, and people like to have fun after 10 o'clock still. But really nothing's open except for, Slim's is one of our bars. It's our Philly bar, you can say, right? So if you're an Eagles fan, that's where you go, and Bortel's, obviously, they close down. So nothing's really even open past, 11, 12 o'clock. So people go back to their residences and keep it going.
Do you have an update on the city pier? What's going on?
I do. So they just started putting their pilings, their survey pilings in. So they have to put some pilings in and do a bunch of tests to make sure that that's where they need to go, and they're going to be compatible with the pier itself. Still looking at the end of March, from what Mayor Short told me, is to be the pier part completed, not the building itself, because they got to get the pier done for us to get out to the building and re-gut it and clean it and get it fixed up.
What about the rod and reel? They're going to replace? Are they going to do anything? Do you know?
So they just got an extension through the city of Anna Maria to rebuild. They had to do the extension because they have 1 year to decide, being out in the water, if they're going to rebuild or not. So from what I was told and what I read in the newspaper out there, they got their extension, and now they have to go through DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers and all the process, all the permitting. Yeah, the long process.
And so for those that don't know, two real landmarks, basically, that took damage from both hurricanes, Helene causing damage to the pier, right?
To both of them.
And then we saw Milton come 2 weeks later. And in between that, Sheriff, you were talking about riding along. I was actually with you guys, and we had Senator Rick Scott, as you recall, doing a visit to the island. The governor, state of Florida, was here as well, and had so many people. And we were riding around, and we were looking at the pier being gone. You could still see Rod and Reel, fabulous restaurant, iconic location, amazing food, and it's sitting out there by itself. And then, a week later, it was gone. But that was grandfathered in, correct? I mean, in the way they had built that. So I guess that makes it even more complicated for such a neat attraction to even come back.
Well, they got to build to the same specs as what it was. They can't go outside of the footprint that what was once there. So it's a challenge not to want to expand and have the newer, nicer things. But if you do it right, you can have a nice pier back. And I'll never forget when Milton came through in daybreak, we could come out to the island to see to get a firsthand view of what we need to do. And I'm out at the pier, and the pier's gone. The main pier itself is gone. And I look over to the north, and the rod and reel isn't there no more. And I remember calling Deputy Doherty on the radio saying, "Hey, can you go check the rod and reel pier?" I said, "I think it's gone." And that's when it was confirmed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's devastating for a lot of people that grew up here. I spent a lot of hours on that pier back when I was growing up, and for a young teenager, it wasn't a concern from my parents to allow me to go out there at 12 o'clock at night.
That's what you did.
We all did that. Yeah. And my stepmother's parents lived on the island, so we were able to get out there quite often and to just enjoy just the beauty that the island still holds. But it was a lot less traffic in those days, a lot less homes, beautiful beach, still not really like I think world known, like people were not coming there from Germany at that time. They were not coming from anywhere. It was just kind of a hidden little treasure. But it's not that anymore. It's definitely on everyone's radar.
Oh, it's worldwide
you
now.
have celebrities coming out there to vacation. So, we have a huge responsibility to make sure that they enjoy their time on the island, and that we just kind of stay back and do our job and not cause too much of a ruckus as we're doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Garth Brooks and Cameron Diaz and all them, they have family out there, and you just give them their privacy when you see them, even though they're a celebrity, and you really want to, even as a deputy sheriff, want to go up and say hi. You just wave and keep going. And just because that's what they're there for, is just to relax and have their privacy.
Yeah, and it's unique, as we said in the beginning there, because we've got these various jurisdictions, and we have good working relationship with Holmes Beach and Bradenton Beach. And
absolutely.
And then we've got our Marine Patrol that's out there also on the island, at least for now, until we move to a new location later. But, we've got all kind of have this ability to respond and work together.
Oh, absolutely. Holmes Beach does back us up. They're the closest out of the other two cities to back us up anytime we need it, with water rescues, even late night domestics, where we might only have one of our deputies out there because it's past 3 o'clock in the morning. And we always have that good relationship with Chief Tokager and Chief Crosby out there, and I try very hard just to maintain those relationships and always stay in contact with those guys even after the hurricanes. I think everybody can say it pulled the law enforcement community tighter together out there because they depended on us like we depended on them.
Brett, you were saying earlier, and Sheriff, it can go from being a peaceful, wonderful day at the beach. It's vacation. You're just in that mode, to a tragedy. And we know that we've got some dangers and some risks that go with that. I always hate to hear about the drownings.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Bean Point is a beautiful place to go visit and relax with your beach chair, or for the fisher guys. They love to fish in that area, obviously, because Gulf of Mexico meets Tampa Bay, but there can be some really strong currents go through there, some really strong riptides go through there, depending on which way the wind's blowing, which way the current's going at the time. And we've had 6, 7 unfortunate incidents this year, water-related.
We also gave Brett the life-saving award just not too long ago.
Right.
For
yes, sir. Thank
one
you
of the
very
rescues
much.
out there. And that's another part of the job that people don't see. You risking your life and everyone, those deputies risking their life to save someone. And like you said, that's not easy. And people don't understand how strong these rip currents are. I mean, they're hard to navigate. You got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and you just got to be patient. Thank God I grew up here swimming. I know my limitations even at my age now. As you grow older, you're not the young 20-year-old that can save the world and swim 2 miles against the current and be okay. But those currents are actually stronger than I can ever remember them being, to be honest with you. And people say, I swim all the time up, in Missouri at my lake, and they don't understand the currents and the tides. And, it takes a split second for, their child or even just an adult, on a swimming tube to get sucked out into the current. And then they don't understand, you're not supposed to swim against it, swim sideways to it, back to shore. And
so we're doing a good job of trying to educate people on those risks.
Oh, absolutely.
As the deputies are out there on the 4x4s driving up and down the beach.
Yeah, and we have swimming signs, at each beach access that explains the rip currents and what to do. And then obviously when you get out on the beach, we have the dangerous rip current signs up, to give everybody that extra information of like, this is not the best area to go swim in.
Yeah, we had a really bad year here in Manatee County when it comes to drownings, and we are always trying to make sure that we clearly get the message out to everyone, the importance of not only understanding the water, but making sure that your family understands the water as well, and keeping an eye on each other. But it's just been a really hectic year for all of us, throughout the county. So we know that it's our job to continue to educate, to get the word out, to get the message out. Randy, you and your crew, Jimmy and Melissa, they're big on that as well, making sure that we get the message out. So, we would just say, please understand before you come to the island, any water, that you understand the risk and you're prepared to help each other out, because we never know how bad that rip current's going to be.
Oh,
you just don't know. And when you get in the middle of it, it's too late if you don't know how to get out of it.
And we do training once a year. The special response team, they have their group of men and women that come out and they do water rescues, and our Anna Maria unit, they train with them. So everybody has a job to do when it comes to a water rescue, because we keep one guy or a young lady on the beach, and their job is to radio what we're doing, and the other guy or lady is swimming out to the victim. And they're supposed to relay that information. So we do train. Could be, the best day for training or the worst day. I mean, out there on the island, you never know with the wind and the currents out there what you're going to get. It could be a nice, peaceful day. The currents, the water's flat, but that undertow out there and that current under the water it'll take you out in a blink of an eye.
Do you find most people, including our tourists, are pretty receptive to your advice when you come to them and you tell them about dangers and, hey, listen, we're not trying to give you a hard time. We want you to have a good time.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're trying to make sure everybody gets to leave the beach.
Yeah, absolutely. Out there with Anna Maria being the position the way it is, the winds are either out of the east or they're out of the west down here most of the time, and one side of the island's flat and the other side isn't. We just try to educate them and say, hey, listen, if you go a couple 100 yards around the corner, you'll have the best, day on the water you can ever have. You don't have to worry about your kids or anything else, because the water's flat and there's no currents over there.
Brett, something that I noticed in my job, getting information out about what's happening in the news and getting a lot of requests from our Highland newspapers is we've seen, even with these rentals, the dangers of a family comes in town. Typically, they're not familiar with the rental. Maybe there's a small child. We've even had issues with pools, and we're trying to tell people, like the sheriff said, it's like a buddy system. You got to keep an eye on everybody. And there's been some heartbreaking stories of people on vacation where a child, drowned in a pool at a rental.
Correct. And the city does a good job doing their yearly inspections to make sure that any exit to a pool area has a pool alarm. Unfortunately, though, when you get into that vacation rental, you don't want to hear that alarm going off every time somebody opens the door, so they disconnect the batteries to those things, and it could lead to tragedy. And obviously, if you have a kid, it doesn't take long for a 2 or 3 year old to disappear. Mm-hmm. Even though you're standing right there with them, they're like little Houdinis, is what I always like to say, and they could disappear in an instant. And we had an unfortunate incident where a 3 year old drowned this year in a pool.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, if you don't remember anything that we said here for the last 30 minutes as we stumble, fumble, and bumble, remember the importance of watching your children around these pools and different bodies of water, no matter what you're doing. If you're here on vacation, we want you to have a great time. We want you to be safe. But there's an element of surprise for some people when they're on vacation and they're not really paying attention to what's going on around them, and you got to be focused.
Yeah, I think it lets your guard down. You're having a good time. Obviously there's partying, or you're relaxed, maybe a little drinking, and from walking out into a road, and you know what I'm saying. That's what makes, I think, it interesting for people who don't realize you guys are having to just really kind of keep an eye on people, because the goal is what? Just for everyone to have a good time and safety.
Yeah, and go home altogether. Anna Maria is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to live, and it's a beautiful place to visit, and it's a beautiful place for us to work, and we like to keep it that way.
So when you come to visit Anna Maria Island, please leave it the way you found it.
We like to always make that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Brad, is there anything people need to know? What would be your advice? Somebody's going to book a trip, whether it's a local who just wants to go out for the weekend for a few hours, or somebody that's going to stay for a while. It's the first thing that comes to mind. Information is key. City of Anna Maria has Facebook and Instagram, and so do we, and we keep up with what we can. But do your research before you come down, and know the rules, and obviously look at the weather before you come, and make sure that you pack accordingly and plan accordingly of what your day-to-day activities are going to be. And if they ever have any questions, you can come knock on our door. You can call us at 747-3011. And if you get the front desk, ask for the Anna Maria District. And we'll be more than happy. We would rather people ask us questions, even if they think it's the dumbest question in the world, than not ask us a question. I've observed that, Sheriff. I live about 8 minutes from the beach, and we love to go out there. And when we see the deputies riding on the 4x4s going by, and people would just walk up to them, flag them down, ask them questions, and they always seem to just stop and listen and talk to them. And like I say, it's community policing. But, absolutely. But I know you're proud of that, and knowing that they're out there engaging with people. And I can't be more proud of the men and women that I'm working with right now at this district that's been through what we've been through the last couple of years. I'm very proud of all the people I work with, and I can't be more happier at this point. Well, we're proud of you as well, Brett, because you have been just an awesome representation of what the Manatee County Sheriff's Office is all about. You do a great job out there. One thing I would say to people that are going to the island in the summertime, be patient. Because that traffic is going to be hectic. Yeah. So take your time, be patient, because you're not going to get anywhere anytime soon. So just enjoy the weather, roll down the windows and suck it all in. Right, no matter what. My wife Rachel, she will not come out to the island on weekends, spring break or summertime at all. So yeah, well, we get there's so much fun stuff out there, and it's a slice of paradise, like we always say, for those of us, because Manatee County, we've got the east that's different from the west, and when you go out there, that it's something that we're blessed to have that there. And we want to have a good time.
Look how blessed we are.
Yeah.
In Manatee County, you have vacationers coming here from Germany to just get a little bit of time in an environment that we take for granted that's here for us every single day.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. Is if you've grown up here and you live here, traveling 30 minutes to go to the beach, you take for granted because you don't want to fight the traffic,
right,
or it's too hot, or you don't want to get your car dirty because of the sand. But being what happened to me 3 years ago, I can tell you, don't take every day you have here for granted.
That's right, Brett. Yep. Great advice, my friend. Great advice. So, well, we really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
I agree. You got some great deputies out there that do just extraordinary work every day and make us proud. So thank you for your leadership.
Appreciate that, Sheriff. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to let Brett get back to the beach.
That's right. Got a little ride.
He does.
A little bit of a ride.
A little bit. Well, thanks. Yeah, it's great to be able to talk about that, and again, bring attention, like you say, Sheriff. The whole purpose of this podcast, the Well Said podcast, we're thankful that people are downloading it and spreading the word. Let people know is that you get an opportunity to learn about something that you wouldn't maybe necessarily get to hear about in as much detail. And that's what's awesome about it. So we thank you for tuning in and continue to let us know what you think. Reach out to us. You can email me, PIO. That's the team here in the Public Information Office at manateesheriff.com, PIO at manateesheriff.com. Let us know your thoughts, your suggestions, maybe an area of the agency, Sheriff, that they want to hear about.
Absolutely.
And then we'll put that together in one of our upcoming episodes. For Brett Getman, our sergeant of the mayor, the law enforcement mayor, chief, whatever you want to call him, the guy that answers to the sheriff and
just sergeant
and the people on Anna Marie Island. We appreciate you being here. For Sheriff Rick Wells, I'm Randy Warren. We'll talk to you next time.